We are here halfway through the week. It is Wednesday, everyone. Welcome into the New Sun Plus Desk.
We were just debating over which day of the week it was.
That was a funny transition.
Yes.
But we made it. Halfway through the week. Here we go.
Happy Wednesday, everyone.
Happy
and
Wednesday.
Boy, do we have a good show for you today on Studio 10 to get you through the week, to get you through the rest of the week, give you a little bit of holiday cheer, a little bit of happiness. I'm excited for our show today.
All right. Well, that's good news.
So one of our, this is such a great story, and it just makes me so happy to talk about. We actually had a lady call into our station recently to tell us that she had been staying in the hospital, and she just didn't know how to properly thank the people who cared for her. And she's a person who has around-the-clock care by nurses, aides, and caretakers, and she just didn't know how to thank them. She's never done this before, but she goes, I'm going to write them a song. And she did it. She wrote them a song.
Oh.
And we're going to share that song with you today on the show. It's very happy. So if you are a nurse's aide or a caretaker, I think you'll really enjoy it. But if you know someone or you've had care from them, I think you'll also really enjoy it. It's just a very happy story.
Yeah.
She's 87.
She wrote a song.
Imagine writing your first song at 87, and it's very good.
Never too young or old to do anything. And that's such a great way to give thanks because it's coming from the heart. You created it. You're using the words, the music.
Totally.
That's beautiful.
And she is actually from Liverpool, so I asked her, where did you get this inspiration from? And she said, the Beatles. And I was like, of course.
There we go.
Of course. So we have that on
The
the
best.
show. And then we're also going to have an author on the show who is kind of themes around national park mysteries.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so imagine some of Michigan's and some of America's best national parks. There's mysteries. They are mysterious. They're majestic. So we're going to talk with her, and it's actually really incredible because if you think about it, in Michigan, we are lucky to have, we have one national park, right? One or two? One or two.
Isn't it? Oh, gosh.
We have a national shoreline, I know that. But
Let's double check.
yes,
Hold on.
we have at least one.
How
Is
many?
it Isle Royale? Isle
There.
Royale?
Right?
6 sites. Okay, so we have 6
We were way off.
national sites. Yes. I
we
think
should've.
some of them are shorelines and different ways to put it. But this is really cool because it's so close to home, and we're so lucky to live in Michigan, and this author just highlights that so well. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and then we're going to talk about Toys for Tots and Tommy's Express, because what better time of season?
Oh, yeah.
It's just the giving season, and one of the best things that you can do is give to your local charities. So we're going to be talking all about this. We have a really fun show for you, and I can't wait to see you at 3 p.m.
All right. Thank you, Claudia. And, of course, here's how you can stay connected with Studio 10. All you have to do is look up at WI like Studio 10 for their socials, email, their YouTube page. If you want to head over there, rewatch anything, you're more than welcome to. And, thank you, Justin. I had to move my box, so Justin had to help me do that.
All good.
You guys don't get to see all of that. It's okay.
All the behind-the-scenes magic of, well, both on and off-air television.
So glorious.
You know how it goes.
I don't think our graphics are working. I'm trying to pull up your name right now, and it's not working. I don't think Claudia's one up either. I was trying to push the buttons.
I am First Alert Meteorologist Justin Bradford. Good to meet you. Glad to join in with us today. Got a pretty quiet weather day going on across most of mid-Michigan right now. Not too much happening outside at the time.
No,
okay.
it's chilly, but not as chilly as yesterday.
Yeah, we're improving, and that's the big thing. Today and tomorrow, we're going to be kind of in an upward trend, which is good to see, just before a nice new system to come in on Friday. And so that's kind of the focus of our forecast now. It's looking out towards the end of the week, because we could have a little bit of a mix of rain and snow to deal with, and depending on where the center of the low-pressure system ends up, we could end up seeing either a couple inches of snow or entirely rain and no snow at all, or a blend of both, which is kind of where we're leaning right now.
All right, well, let's take a look outside before that system moves in, because it doesn't look too bad out there right now.
Not too terrible right now. 127 in the Meridian Company Skycam network. You still see a little bit of that snow hanging around outside on the ground, but none of it flying through the air today, and that's the difference versus the last 2 days. We're also not quite as cool outside And so once again, that's always good as well. We see the temperatures have climbed back into the 30s at least, even if we're right around the freezing mark. And even if that southwest wind at 16 miles per hour is making it feel like the 20s. But you know what? Again, the last couple days we've been in the 20s feeling like the teens and even single digits. And so we'll take 30s feeling like the 20s versus those, of course. Now the numbers outside again climbing up a bit. 29 still in St. John's, but everybody else other than Hastings has made it into the 30s. Marshall's at 34, same with Charlotte, and Jackson is also right there at 32 with Lansing. And so the winds right now, again, they're about 10 to 20 miles per hour. They're out of the southwest. That direction is a big change because instead of the west-northwest wind we've had bringing in that cool air over the Great Lakes and spurring up the lake effect snow machine, now we're bringing it out of the southwest where there is, of course, usually warmer air to be had. However, when that wind is blowing, all it's doing is cutting into how it feels outside, even though those actual temperatures are a little bit warmer than we have been. Mid-20s is how most places feel, but if you're near north of Lansing, it's low 20s. And so you'll still want to be bundled up, of course, today. We're into that time of year, though. You know, looking down to the south and west, there's a little bubble of warm air. They're well into the 50s in places like Kansas City and St. Louis, and even 45 in Indianapolis is not bad for the time of year. And so we're tapping into a bit of that warmth down to the south. Again, only getting us into the 30s today, but we will be closer to that number in Indy by tomorrow afternoon. And so that's good news for us moving forward. We'll at least see a bit of a milder trend. But the hour-by-hour temperatures here only going to top us out in those mid-30s at best today, and then going back down the other side, but not too much more overnight as we're going to stay in those upper 20s for our lows. But the big picture that we're looking at now is satellite and radar. And again, we're not seeing too much go on around mid-Michigan now. The lake effect snow belts are still kind of working away out on Lakes Erie and Ontario, but even those are kind of falling by the wayside now as the colder air is no longer pressing through the Great Lakes, at least cold enough compared to the lake levels with the water temperature to spur up the lake effect snow. You notice that it all looks very calm and quiet out to the west, and that is the case for now. However, there's a system going to be developing out in the southwest part of the U.S. coming off the lee of the Rocky Mountains, and that's going to head our way, and eventually it's going to be responsible for our weather that we see on Friday, which we will be able to see in our hour-by-hour forecast as it does manage to get out far enough. We see here, again, pretty quiet afternoon here. It is still a little bit chilly outside. Heading into the overnight, once again, we are still pretty quiet out there. We're going to be partly cloudy overnight, temperatures down into the upper 20s. By the time we hit tomorrow afternoon, again, we're seeing the numbers climb back up into the 40s, and so that's good news headed our way. Again, continuing to see some of the more pleasant conditions for our final day of the month of November tomorrow, which is hard to believe. December does start on Friday, our final month of the year 2023, and once again, we're going to see a little bit of a way in a messier system. Now, this looks like on the hour-by-hour at 7 a.m. it starts as rain south, but you notice as we work off throughout the day, temperatures for most of us going to be right around those low to mid-30s, and depending on where we end up is going to play a big part in the precipitation type. If we're shy of, well, let's say 35, 36 degrees, we probably see a little bit more in the way of snow, but if we're above that, we see some mix, and then we also maybe see a little bit of rain in southern sections. Where exactly this line between rain and snow ends up, again, it's going to be something that we see kind of back and forth. It's something we'll monitor pretty closely as we go throughout the next few days, because even as we head out into our Friday night, you see that mix line, it kind of wants to hang around the Lansing, maybe a little bit south further towards Mason area, and so Mason to Eden Rapids line there. That's kind of more or less what we're going to be checking out, and so we'll watch that moving forward out into our Saturday as well. It is looking like one of those systems that we can tend to get this time of year where we're seeing a bit of a mix of rain and snow as we go throughout the period moving forward, and so of course it's something we'll keep a very close eye on over the next couple of days. And so all that said, quiet today, pretty quiet tomorrow, a little bit breezy both days, but we're at least in the mid-40s, and then that system once again works in on our Friday like we just discussed in great detail. And once again, that could be a mix of rain or snow. It could be all rain. It could be all snow, depending on where you are. Highs close to 37 degrees is kind of right in that ballpark where you can sometimes get snow all snow falling when it's as high as 40 at certain spots, which is kind of weird to think about. But if you have really cold air aloft and it's just a real thin, warm layer at the surface, that's what you can get. Now, the good news is we don't really have the warm air aloft with this system. And why that's good news is when that happens, we tend to get the precipitation that melts as it falls to the ground and then refreezes as freezing rain or sleet or something of that variety. This does not look like one of those systems at first glance right now. So I think it's going to be pretty fairly defined as far as where it's raining, where it's snowing, and where it's a mix of those two without having to deal with the really bad icy concerns, which, at least personally for me, is my least favorite type of precipitation.
Yeah, no.
Anytime we're dealing with freezing rain, is it fun to look at? Maybe a little bit, but I'll tell you what, being outside, whether you're in a vehicle, on foot, is not very fun, especially when those surfaces are not treated. It sounds
I'd rather have the fluffier snow on the ground.
Sure, and I know an ice rink is fun, but when everything is covered in it, it's not. So I can assure you that. And so, fortunately, that's not what we're dealing with late this week. It's going to be more of that rain-snow blend without ice, which is, of course, good news. However, with the numbers falling overnight to below freezing, anywhere that is wet, any roads like that, those could get a little bit slick. But again, the main concerns are going to be to see whether or not we stack up a couple inches of snow with this, depending on where the center of the low pressure ends up. After that, pretty quiet, headed through into next week. After our first weekend of December rounds out with more rain than snow because we're going to be warm enough for it. And so kind of going the other direction here as we head into December, where we're actually bringing back some more November-looking weather. But you know what? We'll take it. And if everything holds true and works out well, that end of the 10-day forecast Friday could end up being a pretty nice day. But once again, of course, that's 10 days out. But hey, 47 and partly cloudy on December 8th, is it down there? That would be pretty nice to have. And so we'll hold out hope for that day to kind of pan out. But otherwise, again, enjoy today, enjoy tomorrow. They're the dry days ahead of this a little bit of a gloomy pattern we settle into this weekend.
Well, I'll go back one more time. I am seeing the cold temperatures. We're feeling the cold temperatures, but like you said, Justin, like it's not that bad, especially heading into the first week of December. Is El Nino taking effect, and is that why we're seeing the higher temperatures?
Yeah, you know, we sort of have talked about this a little bit, right? And we've discussed the fact that when an El Nino year is happening, it's because the trade winds are weakened, and that's something taking place well to the south of the U.S. But the warm water sloshing back into the eastern side of the Pacific Ocean ends up being a driver for a warmer weather pattern for the northern U.S. usually, and then in the southern U.S. it's cooler and tends to be wetter, but it tends to be warmer and drier in the northern U.S.
Okay.
That seems to be a way that we're kind of leaning towards, at least for December. Now, there are a couple different model trends that are saying we might flip real quick near Christmas time or around the start of the year and then go back to warmth. But, I mean, that's all, again, remains to be seen. It's just all some weather models that go several weeks out. Of course, we know can change like that, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's, you know, something, of course, we're keeping an eye on, but we do know that it does look like the first half of December going to be warmer than normal. And so that at least is maybe something to take away from this, is that we don't have any really brutally cold coming in, at least for the next 2 weeks.
All right. Well,
so
keep your winter jacket on you and your ice scrapers just in case.
Oh, of course. And, you know, with our average high temperatures here are already in the low 40s. By the end of the 10-day, they're going to be in the 30s. And so those are average highs. And the lows are going to be getting down deeper into the 20s. And so it's not going to be warm by most people's standards anytime soon, I don't think. But, you know, for the time of year, anytime we're above average, I mean, we'll take it. If it's in the 40s, we're doing pretty well this time of year.
You never know. With the 40s tomorrow, you might see some teenage boys in their shorts. They always do that, and it's so cold.
Yeah, the one thing is going to be a little bit of a breeze, but, I mean, you know, not even doing too much. And there's certainly, I know people who are outside when it's 30 degrees wearing shorts, so, I mean.
Do you do that?
No comment. No comment. Be smart about what you're wearing outside.
Yeah, let's not get cold out there.
You want to stay healthy during the holiday season and everything leading up. And so, you know, any prolonged exposure outside, you want to have all the things that you need to keep yourself comfortable, if not anything else.
All right.
There's my answer
That was
for
funny.
you.
All right, I like that. No comment on your end, but just a general warning for everyone else.
Yeah,
okay, that's good.
For sure. Yes.
We give better advice than we take, right?
Well, you know, thus is life, right? I'm sure everyone at home can attest to that as well. You know, do as I say, not as I do is how the phrase goes.
Something like that.
I don't always or normally wear shorts outside. If I'm out there for a brief period of time, I might tough it out, especially if I was like just working out or I was playing basketball or something.
Oh yeah.
If I'm like going out on a random, like today's Wednesday, I'm not wearing shorts today. I just want to make that clear. Like that's not what I do. Anyways.
Got to protect them.
Anyways,
You're good. You're
yes,
good.
yes.
You do what you want.
Sweatpants, yes. Shorts, no.
Yes.
No, it's not the way to go.
Well, to see how you can dress for the winter weather, again, it will be warmer tomorrow, but it'll still be chilly. So, Justin, people have a great tool to check out.
Yeah, the News 10 First Alert Weather app. That's the great one to have in the palm of your hand. Again, pretty quiet for the most part in the forecast the next 2 days, but with that storm system moving in for the end of the week here on Friday, we're going to have several updates on this as we get closer. We did want to give you that first alert to, again, what we expect is going to be a system that has a little bit of rain and snow associated with it, and it's going to be a big impact depending on where you are in the area. What we normally tend to see, of course, is that the temperatures are a little bit lower the further north you go, right? And so even a difference between Lansing, for instance, and Jackson could be one place is getting snow, one place is getting rain, one place is getting a mix. That could all be happening at the same time. And so you want to know, based on where you are, what the forecast is going to look like. And so the First Alert Weather app absolutely helps you do that. Once again, it's absolutely free, both on Google Play and in the App Store. Wonderful tool to have at your disposal.
All right, thank you, Justin. Well, I do want to mention real quick, with all of the snow and everything kind of happening, you know, it gets colder, it's darker now with the whole daylight saving time coming to an end. What was that, earlier in the month now? It's been quite some time. Oh, first weekend, and we're already almost in the first weekend of December. That's crazy. But with all of that in mind, you know, the seasons changing can take quite a toll on you. So I want to bring this up. It's our You're Not Alone mental health series. Go ahead, scan that QR code for a list of resources throughout our community. Go to that, whether it's in Clinton County, Ionia, Eaton, Ingham, Shiawassee, Jackson, Lenawee. Go scan that QR code, and it'll pull up a list of resources, whether it's for you, someone that you know and love, maybe it's a random person, or you can call or text the Lifeline chat 988. That number again is 988. You know, the seasons changing, especially for the winter season, can be a joyful time, but also it can be a challenging time for those who may not be able to get together with loved ones, or it's a stressful time. Some people may experience depression or anxiety, so know that you're not alone. There are community resources out there for you to connect with. And also, all year long here on News 10, we'll be sharing stories from community members and experts on how to improve your emotional well-being. I do want to share what's coming up during First at 4 and our 90 minutes of news today. So we're going to start with Deanna Giles, because Deanna, something happened right before Thanksgiving that actually hurt a bunch of families.
Yes, the Beginnings Childcare Center through the Salvation Army, they were unfortunately have to close down. And I learned today that it was really due to staffing shortages. I know they had a lot of staffing, people kind of leave for other jobs beforehand. But there were dozens of families there having to find childcare. I met with one of those families today. They got a little boy, he's 4 years old. He's at home with mom for the time being, and so they're just kind of trying to figure out what to do, especially since Michigan is already facing a childcare shortage. With like staffing and centers and all of that stuff. So trying to figure out, you know, how to go about this, and, you know, Salvation Army is hoping to hopefully reopen the center at a later date, but yeah, so all of that.
So Michigan in general having staffing shortages in terms of childcare. Is this center also closed because of staffing shortages?
Yes,
Okay.
It is. Yep. Leading up to the decision to close the doors, they had quite a few members, like one by one, leave. And so then, you know, you have to have that ratio between staff and children, so they weren't able to meet that.
Okay, so it's an ongoing trend that we're seeing, this challenge.
Yes, it is. Yep. So that's why, I mean, they're like obviously deeply sorry for having to do this before the holidays. But like I said, they're still providing like other resources to help kids too. But it's just those like younger babies that still need the child care.
All right. Well, what time do you have this coming up today, Deanna?
Yes, I will have that story on News 10 at 5. And so you can check it out.
All right, thank you. Well, tying in the Salvation Army, here in every single year here at News 10, we have our Toys for Tots Drive, which is where we partner with the Salvation Army and the local Marine Corps Reserves to provide new unwrapped toys to students in need across the mid-Michigan area. Again, the holiday season is here and Christmas is coming up in just a few weeks, if you can believe it. So there's a QR code on your screen right now. You can scan that with your phone's camera. It'll pull up a link. click on that link and it'll bring you to our Toys for Tots Amazon wish list where you can select a toy off of that wish list. And if you choose to select one off of there, it'll ship it directly to our studios here in South Lansing on American Road. And again, there you can go for more information, the hot button link on WILX.com. If you want those other drop-off locations, for example, Vermeulen Furniture, there's Steak and Onion restaurants, Tommy's Express Car Wash on West Saginaw. There's a bunch of locations. So go scan that QR code on your screen, or you can go to WILX.com. Click on the hot button link for more information. But we are collecting new unwrapped toys from now until December 8th, and this will go to kids in mid-Michigan, no matter what they are looking for. So real quick, I do want to show you all of the toys we have out in front of the News 10 Plus digital desk. You've been seeing it for the past week or two, and a variety. So you see this really cute doll over here, and then I believe over here, yep, right over down here, there's a little mouse. So there's mouse or a mice, and then you have Connect 4, you have all these adorable stuffed animals, you have a little Harry Potter action figure, and for the older children, we're not just looking for the little baby kids or, you know, the elementary school kids. We're looking for teens and tweens, all of them, the older children too, because they get forgotten about from time to time. And I would say it's harder to find gifts for older children while finding it that fits your budget, right? A lot of them want AirPods or Xboxes or expensive things and technology. So instead, you can find more budget-friendly gifts like Jenga or Connect 4, anything of the sort. So again, I will pull up the Toys for Tots wish list one more time. Here's the information. Make sure to go check that out. And again, you're helping us where we have a partnership with the Salvation Army and the local Marine Corps Reserve. So make sure to go check that out. That QR code will pull up in just a second here. But until then, you can also drop off the new unwrapped toys here at our WILX studios in South Lansing during regular business hours. So make sure to go check that out. And we thank you for helping us to make an impact here at News 10. I do have a few more reporters out in the field who want to share what they have coming up today. So we're going to start with Mars Anderson. Let me move this microphone out of the way. And we're going to start with Mars, who's coming up at 5:30.
Mars Anderson here outside of local UAW 2256, where members of Blue Cross and Blue Shield talked to me about this verbal agreement made between UAW and the Blue Cross Blue Shield. I'll have more on that in our 90 minutes of news.
All right, thank you, Mars. You just heard Mars saying what he has coming up, News 10 at 5:30, talking about Blue Cross Blue Shield and the UAW. So still some strikes happening, still getting those negotiations resolved. We're going to head to Amaya, who is speaking on some Toys for Tots coming up News 10 at 6.
As you can see behind me right now, we already have a huge mountain of toys here at the WILX studio, but soon there will be even more to add to this pile as a family in mid-Michigan is giving back to the community in a big way. I'll have their story coming up in our 90 minutes of news, so make sure you stick around to find out more.
All right, thank you, Amaya. Oh, and we have one more from Aaron Bowling coming up News 10 at 6 as well.
Thanks, Taylor. Today I'm at the Spring Arbor Police Department because yesterday morning, one of the Western School District's school buses was rear-ended. It sent 2 children to the hospital, and I spoke with a parent who had a child on that bus today, and she was very upset because she said the parents were not notified of the accident. I'll have what the school district has to say about it in her story on News 10 at 6. Taylor, back to you.
All right, thank you, Aaron. So you just heard from News 10's Mars Anderson coming up News 10 at 5:30, and then News 10's Amaya Kuznicki and Aaron Bowling who are coming up News 10 at 6. Before that, you had Deanna Giles up here sharing her story on the center, the child care center closing the day before Thanksgiving, displacing families around mid-Michigan. So she'll have more on that coming up today at News 10 at 5. But one more thing I want to show is a look outside. This is a live look over Michigan State University. Doesn't look too bad. You're seeing a little bit more blue skies out there, still the clouds, and still that snow on the ground. But it looks like some of that snow that accumulated on the ground is starting to melt away over here. But again, we do get warmer temperatures heading into tomorrow, so make sure to download the First Alert weather app for any changes in the weather. Also, get ready for the cooler temperatures moving in after Thursday. We got those weather systems that Justin Bradford was talking about. You can see that there heading into Friday with that chance for rain, snow, a little mixture of both. And depending on where you are, there could be more snow or there could be more rain. So make sure to download the First Alert Weather app to get all of the latest weather updates. And of course, you can always tune in on air and online, WILX.com. Or coming up at 3 o'clock in just over half an hour, you can see Justin Bradford during Studio 10 and First at 4, and then Andy Provenzano will be in for our 90 minutes of news. Until then, we made it halfway through the week. Have a great Wednesday, everyone.